Elliot Sam has consistently been among the most notable personalities in Hollywood, with his rough, heavy baritone voice appearance and composed yet authoritative response. He developed into an actor who experienced custom for positions based on genuineness and perseverance. His professional life affected generations and extended decades of viewers. However, what makes his narrative not only is his length impressive, but Hollywood time, but the manner in which he irregularly selected parts that left a long-lasting effect. Taking a look back at the chronology of his career and life, each chapter expands on the previous one, producing the image of a man who remained loyal to himself while departing performance that will never be forgotten. The work of Sam Elliott. The narrative starts on August 9, 1944, when Hugh was born in California's Sacramento. The scenery of California, with its blend of the untamed frontier and its natural splendor spirit reflected Elliott's attributes would thereafter display on the screen. Increasing in the years following World War II, Elliot grew up during a period when Westerners predominated American entertainment, influencing cultural opinions on morality, masculinity and resilience. These factors would subsequently have a significant part in his acting profession. However, during these formative years, there was not a promise that he would turn into an actor much alone, one who would put up with for many years. Early in the 1960s, Elliot started to gain access to Hollywood. His first showed up in 1967 with The West. In the movie, there was Asters of the Season and narrated the tale of trailblazers overcoming the challenges of the Oregon Trail. This debut for Elliot was little but important. It provided him with a sneak peek at the film industry, and more crucially, it presented him with the Western music, which would eventually be essential to his acting identity. In 1969, just 2 years later, Elliot got his first part with credit in Butch, The Sundance Kid and Cassidy. However, who was not one of the main protagonists in the movie. His participation in such an important point was the historic output. The film became an American classic. Elliot's name was tied to the movie too, a project worth remembering over many generations. Elliot's tenacity award in the 1970s when his professional stead to grow in significant ways. He starred in the horror movie Frogs in 1972, about nature retaliating again. Although the film itself might not destined to achieve greatness, it was another crucial action for Elliot, enabling him to assume a leading role and demonstrate to viewers that he could carry a. In 1976, 4 years later, he appeared in Lifeguard, a movie that he is at the heart of a very human. Portraying lifeguard Rick Sanwo's struggles with inquiries regarding identity and time's progression. Elliot had complexity and vulnerability to display. Critics lauded his performance and viewers' connections with the character faces difficulties. Lifeguard signaled a sea change, bringing Elliot from supporting parts to a prominent role deserving of notice. Late in the 1970s as the 1980s were years of consistent development for Elliot. In the interim, he became a well-known figure on TV, participating in programs like Gunsmoke, the movie Mission Impossible and Hawaii 5. These appearances, which enabled him to improve his craft while earning respect from viewers of television. While movie actors frequently resided in different triums, and Elliot was able to connect Fiscond, making room for himself in both. His television work showed his adaptability. He couldn't have storylines with loads of action, episodes with a lot of suspense, and Western tales with similar ease. These positions established a solid basis of dependability, making him a performer who could be relied upon to deliver regardless of their structure. Parts in movies in the 1980s strengthened this reputation even further. Elliot played a major role in 1985, co-starring with Cher in Mask His Gar. The character rode a motorcycle. Having a tender heart, Elliot played him with nuance and tenderness. The part demonstrated his ability to go beyond show sympathy while remaining tough without becoming less credible. His capacity to strike a balance between toughness and humanity, one of his signatures. Only for years he later starred in Roadhouse in 1989 while veteran bouncer Wade Garrett and mentor to the character played by Patrick Seaside. Elliot leaned completely into his image here as the knowledgeable, strong and experienced figure, a position that fit him exactly. Not that Roadhouse became a cult classic and a critical hit. Additionally, Elliot's performance is still among the causes of its positive recollection. Elliot's career reached yet another milestone in 1993. Peak when he made an appearance in among the most renowned contemporary westerns. Engaging in play, Virgil Earp added a sense of gravity to Thethy, part of Wyatt Earp's brother, a character of fortitude and kinship. His performance served to anchor the movie, and Tombstone later became a pivotal piece from the Western resurgence of the 1990s. By Elliot's on-screen persona this time had become so strong that he is no longer having to take center stage in each scene. His tone, his manner and his authenticity was a powerful statement without. Tombstone solidified his stance as one of the main players with carrying on the Western tradition. There was another pivotal period in the 1990s for Elliot. He made an appearance in The Stranger Was Big Lebowski, enigmatic cowboy character who tells the story and directs the narrative in his own manner, using little time on the screen. Elliot produced a figure that rose to fame, though the serene, pensive voice of the stranger observations and the transformation of cowboy knowledge-making. him one of the movie's most components that are memorable. The large Lebowski itself turned into a cult favorite, adored by fans around, as well as Elliot's performance second truth significantly to its long-lasting popularity. For a lot of younger viewers who learned about him from this movie, their first was the stranger. Overview of Sam Elliott's distinct. The reaction to Sam Elliott in 2022. The birth date of Sam Elliott was August 9, 1944, California's Sacramento. Additionally, from any young age, his rich voice and rough presence would distinguish him from others. Elliott grew up in California, tended to the open American landscapes and imagery West, which eventually served as the basis persona in Hollywood. In contrast to many actors who entered the industry by accident in later life, Elliott appeared to be destined to for it. His inherent character suited smoothly with the many kinds of personalities that would take center stage in his career. Men of skill, power, conviction. Under this initial step established the basis for what would eventually become one of the most unusual cinema careers and TV. His Hollywood debut in the latter part of the 1960s, when the Western genre remained popular but starting to shift. Elliott's movie in 1967, The Way West, made their debut. Despite playing an uncredited role, perhaps it didn't make him a household name right away. It was the initial action in an effort to establish himself in theater. In 1969, 2 years later, Elliott got his first part with credit in The Sundance Kid and Butch Cassidy, even if it was only a tiny portion. Sharing screen real estate in such a historic Western enabled him to start defining his route in Hollywood. It was clear that his presence, even in small appearances, stood out, and his career started to improve. Traction. It became out that the 1970s were the years in which Elliott started to mold his own individuality on screen. In 1972, he starred in the horror movie Frogs, which showed how the time was experimenting with. However, his more important lifeguard was a milestone in 1976. In that movie, Elliott adopted a part that emphasized his quiet charm and storytelling prowess. Lifeguard displayed not just his as well as his ability to bring diff and resemblance to his. Although several detractors believed though the film's scope was limited, viewers Elliott is a celebrity with a distinct charm. His performance expanded considerably. His acknowledgement and verified that he built managed being the star. Though the following years in the late 1970s Sand continued until the 1980s, characterized by consistent and trustworthy labor. In contrast to certain actors Wayne following early successes, Elliott discovered a steady cadence, transitioned fluidly between TV and movie, demonstrating his versatility. On television he had appearances in well-known shows like Mission and Gunsmoke Y5 and Impossible, where heralds enabled him to exhibit a consistent adaptability. Meanwhile, his filmmaking provided significant depth to his resume. He starred in Mask in 1985, a heartwarming drama that revealed a more compassionate and his screen's more sentimental side. By that time, Elliott had stopped limited to straightforward Western archetypes. He had demonstrated his ability to embody the latter part of the 1980s also raised his profile. In 1989, Elliott appeared with Patrick in Roadhouse, Watching, giving a performance that played right into his tough exterior. After this, he added another important part in 1993's Tombstone, where Virgil Earp was portrayed by him. The movie Beckham, one of the most renowned contemporary Elliott's performance matched Westerns. Ideal for its collection of gritty. Elliott discovered a new website that brought him back to audiences in a novel manner. He was thrown in the Ranch, a comedy drama series on Netflix, accompanying Ashton Kutcher. Because of his part in the show, Elliott was able to combine comedy and rough and ready honesty. He had always been defined by that. It proved that his abilities could smoothly transition into the realm of entertainment streaming, which was as emerging as the new frontier of. At about the same time, in 2017, Elliott featured in the Hero a performance that would bring him considerable praise from critics. The movie narrated the tale of an elderly Western performer, considering his legacy in life, a part that appeared to fit Elliott well. Numerous reviewers praised the movie for allowing him to utilize his personal experiences and add a degree of genuineness that struck a profound chord with viewers. It wasn't merely another show. It seemed like a meditation or a personal statement about purpose, aging, and celebrity. That accelerated in 2018 when Elliott accomplished a goal that many have long thought he was due. He received a nomination for the Best Supporting Actor Oscar actor who starred in the film A Star is Born, where he and Bradley Costa read Lady Gaga and Cooper. Elliott's interpretation, Bobby Maine's older brother Cooper's personality was subtle and strong. His scenes were frequently silent, but bursting with passion, especially those that dealt with family strife and the intricacy of brotherly ties. The suggestion was acknowledgement of decades of commitment to his craft, confirming Elliott's lack of only a well-known face, but a profound leader and performer whose work had made irreversible impact on the sector. For admirers to reviewers, the Oscar nomination felt like a long overdue recognition of his contributions to the film industry. Observing that high point of his career, Elliot remained current in the field with positions that emphasized his strengths while welcoming fresh challenges as well. Heath played the part of She in 22:1. Brennan in the precursor to Yellowstone 1883 series. With this performance, Elliot was in the right returning to the Central Western genre, in which he was always quite good. However, in contrast to his career's early westerns, in 1883, a more complex and dark viewpoint, and Elliot ascended to the way he portrayed Brennan, a harsh, tenacious man in charge of familiar-string the perilous American frontier, received recognition for its breadth and resonance on an emotional level. In appreciation of Elliot's work earned him a Screen Actors Guild Award, solidifying his standing as one of the most successful actors from his generation. This position does not merely serve to remind viewers of his established link with the Western culture, but it demonstrated that even after several decades in his profession, Elliot could continue to provide performances of exceptional strength. Even while he was moving into his late 70s and early 80s, there were no indications in Elliot's career of reducing speed. His commitment to performing stayed as powerful as before. Additionally, in 2025, the news broke that he will be joining the cast of Land, a Paramount Plus series. Interestingly, Elliot was revealed as a series regular for the second season of the show season, an action that protest said coincided fan expectation. Thendiver brought him and Billy Bob back together. Thornton, an additional performer renowned for his unique appearance on screen, generating enthusiasm for what their cooperation could improve the series. Elliot saw this new position as not merely another undertaking, with a continuation of his lasting significance in contemporary narrative. Even after he stayed a star in Hollywood for decades, coveted talent with the ability to draw answers and providing the controversial work of Sam Elliott. Political opinions. Sam Elliott has consistently been acknowledged for his authoritative apparent, his tough demeanor, and above his distinct voice above everything. That deep growly drawl has told innumerable stories. Movies, played well-known roles, and even influenced the tone of advertisements and documentaries. Now, in an eye-catching and abrupt change, Elliot's voice has joined the political dialogue in the United States, mainly known for his roles in dramas and westerns. On occasion, Elliot has stepped into political involvement in the past, but is perhaps his most audacious action to yet, giving his voice to a brand new commercial from the Elliot's Lincoln Project is utilizing his unique approach to combating sexism in voting patterns directly. The advertisement made by Elliot is included in the Lincoln Project, addressing voters directly in a manner that not many political advertisements dare to try. He doesn't dress up or soften his storytelling, use wording that is careful. Rather, it is filled with sporadic profanity and frankness without hesitation. Elliot insists voters disregard long-held biases and assists Kamala Harris in her effort to become the first American female head of state. His statements are not only they're why in the world are you waiting for? Cutting through the cacophony, he asks, frank and direct. Because if it's time to go past the woman thing, change and hope are long overdue. It's time to vote for a woman and be a man. This statement's strength comes not just in the words spoken, but in the person saying it. Elliot's tone has evolved into associated with power, custom, and to listen to him provide such a message has weight that goes with above and beyond the usual political bluster. By confronting the prejudices that Sam Elliott declines to allow voters toss at the subject of sexism, rather he exposes it for what it is, and as a result, requires that Americans think beyond the past. Lincoln Project has constructed a renown for being incisive and unyielding political communications during the previous 4 years. However, combining their strategy with Elliot's voice contributes a cultural dimension, authority that is difficult to disregard. This is not Elliot's first usage of his opinion in a political setting. Returning, he provided the voiceover for a 2020 campaign ad for Joe Biden, the Democratic nominee at the time. That the advertisement conveyed a distinct message, more deeply ingrained in custom and individual persona. Then, Elliot contributed his backing for a candidate whose supporters' persona reflected parts of himself. A white man who has been well known for decadesho had at last experienced a moment of marquee position in later life. Elliot's campaign's contribution was important, but it was comfortable. Inside the picture that many people already held Ophi. He was supporting an individual who on their surface had parallels to thousands of characters he had already depicted on screen. But this time, the dynamic has evolved. Alongside President Biden resigning in 2024 and supporting Kamala Harris, the vice president, as his Elliot's favorite replacement has additionally his voice changed to fit the situation. The new Lincoln Project advertisement makes clear it's obvious that the stakes have changed now. Elliot is asking people who previously linked Biden to increase that backing to Harris, in spite of whatever persona biases or discomforts they could experience regarding casting his ballot for a woman. He doesn't hesitate to identify the challenge or treat sexism. His message poses difficulties. Voters to acknowledge their biases and transcend them for the sake of their future of the nation. The advertisement makes a strong point, this communication in Elliot's voice highlighting how urgent the impact. You are aware of the stakes. Hesse's followed by a stark contrast among the contenders. One aptly cantromizes a split America that is full with height and lies, and one represent. His remarks are straightforward but strong, presenting the option instead. One aspect is the possibility of further polarization under Donald Trump, who is the Republican nominee once more. Uncle Harris is on the opposing side, and Elliot frames as a more fearless candidate, more courage and honor than this man ever had. The disparity is evident, and Elliot's delivery makes minimal space for himself. The Lincoln projects the method for employing Elliot's voice is obvious. They are addressing voters who might have felt at ease providing 2020 Biden, but who could be hesitant at backing Harris. The advertisement aims to close that gap by presenting the option as not just rational, but ethical as well. Elliot's voice, with its seasoned power turns, becoming the means of promoting this. It goes beyond simply offering assistance. A contender. It's about conquering down prejudices to reach a conclusion they to present advancement. The directness of Elliot's statements are deliberate. I am unable to think we're having this discussion and more, he adds in a loud. So, let's go. The advertisement. The urgency is reflected in the tone and structure of the instant. The footage alternates between pictures of Trump in monochrome and more optimistic pictures of Harris. But Elliot's narration offers this beam of emotion. His statements are not those from a disinterested narrator. They're intimate, incisive, and frequently unvarnished. At one point, his remarks delve so deeply into a specific area that it guarantees the broadcast television will not show the advertisement. You determine if we are actually returning, traveling the same crooked path, or are we going forward? The language selection may be debatable, yet it represents Elliot's message's intensity. He is not just telling stories, he is demanding that voters consider the nation's course.